Doing? I'm here. It's kind of an impromptu daily rant, but hey, with the approach of my 100th video, um, and the pending election, um, impending election, I should say, I just thought I would maybe throw out a little information to those of you who haven't really been paying attention. I don't know how many people pay attention. How many of you pay attention actually are into politics. Because before I turned into the wrestling guy, I was a little bit into the political field. And just a couple little fun facts here and a little Q&A about our Democratic nominee for president. Not my Democratic nominee. Far from it. Mr. Obama. First of all, he's involved, which is great, because he's involved in a lawsuit that relates to the release and authenticity of his birth certificate. If you go to worldnetdaily.com, search for Hal Lindsey's commentary entitled "What's Obama Hiding from Us?", which is actually a fair question, because through all his rhetoric and his JFK-esque, I'll call it, delusions of grandeur, he has failed to really reveal anything about himself. All he does is talk in circles, which, if you watch most of the commentators and news anchors on the far left, that's all they do is talk in circles. They answer questions with other questions. And it's funny because Obama's grandmother was quoted as saying she remembered his birth in a hospital in Kenya, which would disqualify him from being eligible to be president of the United States, because that would make him a citizen of Kenya. So yeah, that's great if we just want to push that through. But he's got his birth certificate. The lawsuit's actually, it's tied up in so much litigation right now that the far left will never let that out. Obama flip-flopped on his tax cuts. Originally, he said it would be people making the watermark, the high water mark would be $300,000. People making above that would be hit with a tax increase to, compensate for him to maybe close in the circle of his socialist plan to pretty much redo the entire welfare system. But then he went from 300,000 to 250 to 200, and then Joe Biden said it was 150,000. So what the outline of this plan is doing, it wants to reestablish a welfare system, give others tax. He wants to give your tax money. And we're not going to say who exactly, what tax bracket, because they won't even say which tax bracket. All they do is throw out different numbers from time to time. And nobody questions this, because it's Obama. Nobody questions it, because the far left media has protected him the whole election. During this whole campaign, they protected him. And his half-hour infomercial he did on that White House / Camp David looking set was such an overblown piece of garbage, and the only reason he had money to do that was because he flip-flopped on his campaign spending. And originally he said, as the Democrats are supposed to be for the blue-collar worker, I'm going to use public funding. But then he takes privatized funding and raised over $600 million for his campaign. A lot of those contributions are said to have been coming from overseas in the form of the disposable credit cards. So there's no way of tracing where that money's coming from. And for those of you out there who are undecided about the voting, these are some websites that are founded by Democrats who are voting against their party. This is justsaynodeal.com and Puma.com. Puma.com stands with Party Unity My Ass. That's Democrats for Republicans. Well, I'm going to throw this out there because I thought this was rather funny. I was watching the news yesterday, and I see two complete jack-offs have hung a Sarah Palin in effigy, a doll looking like Sarah Palin, life-size, and then they lit a McCain on fire on top of the roof. Now, these were two little white boys. Now, if I was to go out and hang a Barack Obama off my fucking balcony and light a Joe Biden on fire, well, goddamn, I'd probably be about the biggest racist there is, wouldn't I? I'd probably be one of those crazy white people that Michelle Obama was talking about, wanting to shoot her. I don't want to kill anybody. All I would like is a fair fucking election, and I would like to know the complete story on this guy who the far left media, all they want to do is fucking protect him from what? From the truth getting out? I mean, come on. And then this tape that the LA Times won't release because they want to protect their sources in the interest of integrity, like the LA Times has ever fucking been interested in integrity, of Obama at a benefit dinner for Rashid Khalidi, who was the spokesperson for the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which is a fucking terrorist group. It's an anti-Israeli organization. If John McCain was in a fucking dinner for the KKK, that would be plastered all over the fucking news. If there was a tape of that, you better believe, I don't care what the source was, that would be out. They would force them to release that fucking tape because it's a Republican and not a far left Democrat. God. And I got a couple questions I'd like to ask. If anybody out there knows this, that's great. I'm going to give you the answers anyway, but you can play along at home. What is America's first line of missile defense that protects the entire United States? If anybody knows that. If you don't, the answer is the 49th Missile Defense Battalion of the Alaskan National Guard. What is the only National Guard the National Guard unit on permanent active duty? Why, that happens to be the 49th Missile Battalion of the Alaskan National Guard. Now, you want to know who the Commander-in-Chief is of the 49th Missile Battalion of the Alaskan National Guard? Why, it's Governor Sarah Palin, of course. What governor? Now, this question, some of you might find funny. I found it rather important because I didn't know this. What governor is routinely briefed on highly classified military issues, homeland security, and counterterrorism? Well, it's Governor Sarah Palin. And what U.S. governor has a higher classified security rating than either the foreign policy expert Joe Biden or Junior Senator Barack Obama? Why, it would be Governor Sarah Palin. So before you start throwing stones at this woman and pretty much trying to make her out to be a Judas, she's a good woman who's worked for our fucking country. And spare me, because, I'm sorry, you run around with Rashid Khalidi, Jeremiah Wright, William Ayers and his accomplice in the 1960s domestic terrorism, who was unrepentant. And worst of all, this Rashid Khalidi is now a professor at where? A fucking liberal Ivy League school, Columbia University. Great. Good fucking job, Columbia. You guys are awesome. I'll bring back the day's biggest idiots list just for one day. I'm not going to make a list. Columbia University, you're fucking on it. And that's it. That's all I got to say. So, and I'm not saying John and of course, if you watch Hannity and Combs, little Alan Combs and his little wimpy left-wing ass tries to fucking, well, McCain gave money to this guy, no, he didn't. Come on, dude. Just because your man's been found to be a fucking, okay, and it doesn't even stop with them. And he went to Jeremiah Wright's church for 20 years. Jeremiah Wright's a big, now that's a racist, okay? That is racism. I might be the only one who thinks so. Of course, everybody's going to paint me out to be the great white. Oh, no, I'm not. Like I said, I could care less what color you are. You got to think about the best interests of this country, okay? We don't want rhetoric. You want to fucking say you want to give us change we can believe in? Well, say something then. Don't fucking talk in circles. That's all I got for you folks tonight. Peace, bitches.